We are talking about being deliberate and intentional on your job track. I'm Michelle Carruthers. I'm here with my colleague Leanne Edwards, and we are behavioral career coaches at a coding boot camp called App Academy. So I think there are people from all over here, not necessarily App Academy. I do know Shay, hi. You're driving, so don't be typing questions. But yeah, so this is what we're going to be focusing on today. Not only the way that you can brand yourself better and take intentional action, but also taking more of an inside out approach, really understanding why you're doing the things that you're doing, why you're yielding the results that you're yielding, and giving you a different perspective and possibly different insight into how you can approach it differently. So when we say intentional, I love this little picture and this quote to help represent it. We are all gardeners planting seeds of intention and watering them with attention in every moment of every day. So when it applies to our job search or our career path or our life in general, we can plant all the seeds that we want. We can have all the intention that we want, the motive to grow something beautiful. But if we're not putting forth the proper attention to the right things, the watering, the sunlight, the fertilizer, the proper soil, the air quality, if we're not putting attention to the specific things, then we're not going to get the results that we want. So for our job search, we can do all of the things, but if it's not coming from that place of intention where we really want to grow something powerful and meaningful and impactful, that's where so we'll go into that more specifically in Leanne's half, where she'll give you actions that you can start implementing today to really start to shift the trajectory of your career path and your job search. So get ready, guys. We're about to jump in. First, we'll introduce ourselves. Leanne, you want to go ahead and give an introduction?
Yes, absolutely. Great to see you all. Happy December. I'm not sure how it's December. However, I did want to kick this off with my new ugly sweater, just so you guys can see, because I'm really super proud of it. When I wore it around the house the other day, my 13-year-old daughter was horrified. I thought she was jealous. She was actually horrified. So I love wearing it. And we are having a in-service meeting today at App Academy. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to wear it all day. Who cares? It's actually super comfy. I got it on Etsy. And this is like my favorite Christmas show. So happy to be here. Like Michelle said, if you saw us last time, this might be a little bit repetitive, but it never hurts to watch it again because Bigfoot, no, it's the abominable snowman. Oh my God. Take good notes. There's always good takeaways. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes when I listen to a good podcast, I'll listen to it again a couple weeks later because I always pull something new and inspiring out of it. So make sure you take some good notes. Hopefully we'll give you some new self-awareness today, some new creativity in order to better your job search. So my name is Leanne. I am a behavioral coach at App Academy. I do work with Michelle, and I have been in the technical recruiting space for almost 15 years. So I love technical recruiting. I love coaching. I love life coaching. And so yes, I am a published author. That is my book. I'm really hyped up on culture, as well as recruiting. So thank you guys for having me. And I'm excited to share some fun facts with you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Leanne. And I'm Michelle Carruthers. I'm also a behavioral career coach at App Academy. I'm your confidence and motivation cheerleader. I have a really diverse and interesting background. I went to school technology, mastered in information systems, and worked in corporate and startup tech for about 8 years. And then I decided to get more intentional with what I was really passionate about, which is what I'm going to share with you guys today, and followed my passion for wellness and coaching, specifically stress management and using mindfulness to be more intentional, not only in your career, but your life. And then along came App Academy and this opportunity that blends all of it, my background in tech, coaching, and here I am as a behavioral career coach. So we're really excited to be here today and share some insights with you guys. So if you're ready, we're going to get our learn on. Get out some paper, pencil or pen, or if you like the notes on your computer or G-Doc or whatever you have available. So I really want to invite you again to be intentional with your time with us today, and that culture-scape has really in the job place, and we want to share some insights that have come into our reality with you all, so that you're not just reacting to what's happening, but being more responsive, choosing your mindset, choosing the behaviors that you're putting forth, and really making decisions that are going to yield massive, impactful results. And so today, I really invite you to come with that open mind. We're going to share some new perspectives, new insights, new opportunities. Can take or leave, but we really invite you to be in a coachable state as we talk through this today and see what is of value and what you can actually do something with. Get excited. There's actually some, I believe it's Tony Robbins, I'm not sure, but he talks about the state. I know that he talks about your physiological state and how that completely shifts how you use your brain. So if you're in a downtime, not really focused, monotonous state, you're that much less likely to retain the information. So if you change your physiological state, literally sit up, stand up, eyes wide, focus, get some light in your room, have that attention to what's going on, and get excited, be in that emotional, physiological state of excitement, you will retain more information. Ask questions. We've already talked the chat. Leanne's monitoring that for me, and I'll monitor it for her. Anything that comes to mind, we have a really tight group today, so we can get really specific with what you're experiencing. And be an active participant by taking notes and having 3 takeaways. That's my challenge to you today, 3 takeaways, write it down. And then, here we go. We're about to change the game. Deep breath. Become and change that state, because today we're going to take that inside out approach to your job search, getting crystal clear on who you are, why you're here, and what you want to create in your life. It's not just about your job in and of itself. It's who you're being, the mindset you have, the thoughts you have, and ultimately the actions you're taking that are yielding the results. So we're going to dig deep, inside out approach, and start with your why, then go into taking ownership. We'll take a short break after that, and then I'm going to shift over. Leanne's going to talk about challenging mediocrity and your roadmap to success. Those are the tangible steps that you're going to start to take to make this manifest in your life. Are there questions before I jump in? Okay. Why? So this circle here is actually referred to as the golden circle by a motivational speaker and author, Simon Sinek. I mentioned him last time we spoke, but it's just such a powerful representation of how important it is to start with your why. He actually wrote a book about this, starting with why. And in his TED Talk that's really famous, he talks about the messaging and the marketing that really powerful, impactful, some of the most successful companies focus on first the why, then the how, then the what. Versus those other companies that use their marketing messaging in the opposite way, where they're talking about what they do or what they make or what they produce, then how they produce it, and why, just really being the bottom line of making a profit. So when Simon talks about starting with really discovering your why, it's important in your job search because that's your marketing effort. That's your brand. You want to elicit that emotional connection with whether it's an interviewer or just a networking opportunity or someone in the industry that you met at a coffee shop that works at a cool company that you're interested in. If you are solid and clear on why you want to be a software engineer or why you're even path, you can build that rapport and that emotional connection with that other human being and get that much more further in the conversations around actually making that a job for you. So if you think about this, it's really helping you craft a personal pitch. So Leanne's going to go into more specific details later, but I'm just setting the stage, starting to think about your story behind why you went into software. Why does technology fascinate you? All of these questions that we'll dive into next, but more or less, if we think about a powerful example from the marketing perspective that Simon Sinek gave in his TED Talk, he talked about Apple. So they start with their why in their marketing. They state, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo, even thinking differently. That's their why. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our devices simple to use, elegant, and user-friendly. Their how. We just happen to make great computers. You want to buy one? That's their what. Versus what they make. We make great computers. How? Oh, we use, they're user-friendly. Why? Because we want to make money. We want to make a profit. That lands flat. So we want to think about, again, reverse engineering from that core why that's within you when you're giving this pitch. So it might look something like your why. I'm a software engineer that has always loved challenging my mind and leveraging my creative genius through technology. As a child, I would lose track of time when on the computer and using it as an outlet. From racing my friends typing to creating a work of art in paint, I've always been a person that lights up when I'm deep in technology and using it to connect, have fun, and tap into my creative side. That's a powerful why versus I'm a software engineer that knows these technologies. Now, I've followed that passion by going through a rigorous coding boot camp and building full stack web application projects on my own and with teams, MongoDB, Express, React, Node.js, and I'm continuously expanding my repertoire. That's my how. And I'm excited to see how my creative passion can transpire to your company and your team. That's ultimately what I want. So crafting this pitch in a way that elicits that emotional connection and that rapport where someone wants to learn more. They're intrigued. You're not just another software engineer that knows these technologies and is stack. You're so much more than that. And when you're clear on your why, you can communicate it in this way more powerfully. And Leanne's going to go into that more in a little bit. Any questions here? We're good. Okay.
Sorry, could you just repeat the quick why, how, and what that you just mentioned? So I got why I was very passionate as a child about technology. I followed that passion, entered a boot camp, working on a full stack boot camp, trying to increase my skills and want to basically find a position where I'm able to learn more and put these skills to use. Would that be a good summary?
Yep, exactly. You're just going to elaborate more on it, make it more personal to your story on why you followed the path of software engineering. So example was I used to play, this is actually real life, I used to play typing games and race my friends typing and use paint, old school Windows paint all the time. And that was my original obsession with technology. So what is that for you? Did you have an obsession with video games where you just loved how you could make your imagination come to life through a game? What was that for you?
I think for me initially it was probably just the internet coming to the fore, really, because it's quite mind-boggling when you think that it used to take half an hour to load a page, whereas now it's instantaneous. So I've kind of seen it all the way through, and just being able to contact someone on the other side of the world instantly. That was
Yeah.
that was very big for me, especially at that age, because we were constantly, you know, had pen pals and stuff, and you'd like wait a letter, and yeah, and it just made it that much quicker, and it was interesting. It definitely started something.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I remember the AOL Instant Messenger and listening to right, and then being able to talk to my friends whenever I wanted. I can totally relate to that. So that instantly builds a connection with me because I started thinking about my memories.
Yeah.
And that builds rapport with me.
Brilliant. Got it.
Great. Good job.
Michelle,
Thanks.
Jay is raising his hand as well.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to be real quick. You might have said this in the beginning, but I was a couple minutes late. I just wanted to ask, with these kind of stories, is this like the kind of thing we tell in interviews, or is it like through our resume and cover letters? Like,
it can really be used throughout your whole branding and your presence. So I'm using the example in terms of a personal pitch. So typically when you're at a phone screen, you get that question, tell me about yourself. This is a great way to get it really concise and clear and set the stage for the conversation. But yes, you can use this structure in your cover letter as well. Starting with your why, that really powerful story that sets the stage again for your background, then going into the specifics, the technical details, the technologies you know, the projects you've created, your experience, and then what, your conclusion, is summarizing how this can be applied to that specific company.
Thank you.
Great questions. Okay, so in terms of discovering this, you guys probably have some ideas of what that is for you at this point, but the way that we do that more is to ask some meaningful questions. In the last presentation, we did a full out passion alignment exercise. I shortened it down a little bit just to get to questions to start to spark some ideas in your mind on what this might look like for you. So if you have pen and paper or that blank doc, now's the time to get that out. There is no passion to be found playing small. In settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. This is a quote from Nelson Mandela. Your passion is your energy. It is that core life force that is something to be reckoned with and your unique gift. So really discovering what that is for you, how it's been showing up in your life, recognizing those patterns and continuing on that path intentionally and deliberately here today. Because it's so easy to get distracted or feel desperate and grab it, whatever comes our way, and then we end up feeling unfulfilled, unsatisfied, unhappy, and like we're just wasting away. So we really want to help you guys not only land a job, but a job that is meaningful to you and help you feel a sense of fulfillment. Okay, so I want to start off with the 4 human core values. Nice and big and broad. This can be kind of difficult if you've never been asked this question before, but what are 4 of your values as a human? Leanne and I can share these, but mine, for me, the first one is integrity. So do you do what you say you're going to do? Yeah. Honesty kind of ties with that, integrity and honesty. Number 2, I believe in curiosity and always be learning. So I'm constantly learning something new, approaching things with an open mind, always trying to see the opportunities and things. Number 3, for me, is contribution to something greater than myself. I honestly believe that we all have a unique gift and a reason that we're here and a meaning that we're meant to bring to the world. So contribution to something greater than your career, nonprofit, just in your family, in your day-to-day, there's always something more that you can leave in terms of a legacy. And then number 4, obviously you guys probably gathered this from my background, but optimizing health. So whether that's nutrition or movement, rest, recovery, just being more present and more mindful in my day-to-day, those are all very important to me. Leanne, did you want to?
Yeah, sure. I'll share mine, and we are having a lot come through the chat. So I'll just read those off as well. But before I do that, I wanted to add one thing to what we were kind of talking about before with the why. So think about this entire presentation today. Look at it from what I like to call with my job seekers is a recruiting toolbox, right? So you need to have a recruiting toolbox always by your side whenever you're interviewing. And what that really is a bunch of stories that are created from past experiences about you, for you, that you can deliver during an interview, right? So during all those behavioral questions, like tell me about a time, tell me about something you're super weak in or you're super strong in, right? There's all these different things that you need in your recruiting toolbox. So today, what you should be taking away is all of the self-awareness to put into that recruiting toolbox so that you can answer your interview questions better, sharper, faster, and more articulate. So some of the human core values that we are having come through are honesty, respect, discipline, physical, mental health, growth-minded, yes, Navi, value-driven. Let's see, Jay has compassion, self-growth. There are two that come to mind. For me, maybe this is why Michelle and I are such good friends and good colleagues, but we share a lot of the same values. I would say my number one for me would be integrity, for sure. I always try to do the right thing, even if the right thing is really hard to do. That's my number one. And I think the more that you become self-aware of your own human core values, the easier it is to build confidence for yourself, especially when you are interviewing, right? Because a lot of companies nowadays really focus on culture, right? And so when you're interviewing, it's so important to go to their website and look at their core values and see if you align with them, right? When I would interview people for a specific startup that I was working for, I would always say, you know, out of our 5 or 6 core values, which one do you align with most? And if they didn't know, then they didn't pass the interview. I want people who are going to do their research, who are going to be confident, and who are really looking forward to working for a company that they feel like they align with the company core values as well. So we had one more pop in. Let's see, Imran: empathy, integrity, self-awareness, and fulfillment. So these are all amazing. Awesome. I will kick it back over to you, Michelle.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so just like Leanne said, these could be a potential interview question in and of themselves, but it's also a really powerful tool in your recruiting toolbox to help with more of a dream job than just a job. Okay, so more questions to start asking yourself, again, to have that story in the back of your mind when you're in an interview, specific examples, and again, to help you align and be intentional and deliberate in the steps that you're taking towards that dream job. What gets you, and you guys don't have to answer all of these, it's just, you can take a screenshot too, answer later and dig deeper, but these are, again, just to get your brain flowing. What gets you excited or you can't stop thinking about? Is there a problem or challenge that emotionally moves you to take action? So if you volunteer in nonprofits, that's a pretty powerful problem or challenge that you're passionate about. What kind of work would give you a sense of satisfaction or fulfillment? So Imran, fulfillment. So what value of yours, what will ultimately help you create that sense of fulfillment? What aspect of your career have you enjoyed across all past work experiences? So this is going to be more in terms of self-awareness, looking at the patterns across your past to understand why you are where you are and why you've made the decisions you've made. What kind of work feels effortless to you but drives curiosity to learn more? Does anyone want to answer any of these or talk through any of these before I move on? We have a few more to get you thinking.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in, Michelle. Guys, I want you, just like Michelle and Leanne were both saying, that these types of questions are not just for your soft skill interview, but these are questions that are really great to think about when you're thinking about your job strategy as a holistic strategy, in terms of whether you're connecting with somebody on LinkedIn or whether you're connecting with somebody at an event and then you want to send a message back to them. If you know answers to these questions, the conversation becomes easier and they start understanding your story. And that's kind of what, I love what you said, Michelle, about getting, this separates from having a job from that dream job. So yeah, I think this is a great place to start.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, you guys can dig deeper into this, but Leanne's also going to dig into it to help you craft your pitch in the second half of this presentation. But we have a few more too. What problems do you, what are you passionate about? And then what benefit do you offer people? So looking at your strengths, what you bring to the table, what value you add. So obviously this is going to be in an interview, your ability to be able to articulate that in a way that is meaningful and that the interviewer can connect with. And then who are those people that can benefit? So understanding the audience, understanding as you research these companies and these businesses, who are they catering their product or service to? And does that align with your skill set and who you want to help or help solve problems for? How do you solve their problems? And then what makes you different from others like you? So yes, your specific experiences, but more so your character traits, the values and the actions that you take day in and day out to align with those values. Who are you as a human that makes you different from others that might have the same skill set? So when you're in those interviews and there's very similar resumes in front of the interviewer and you're able to articulate questions in a more meaningful way, in a more confident way, in a way that really connects with that interviewer, that's going to give you an automatic up. Write down your strengths and put them in your recruiting toolbox. Yes, Leanne. Okay, so does anyone want to share more thoughts about what they've discovered as they just start to ask themselves these questions? Talk through it a little bit.
I guess I'll just go. No one else seems to, but I kind of realized that like for the what am I passionate about, what moves me emotionally, it's like that human connection and like the ability to like make change on like a human level, not just on like an economic level. So that'll probably like I mean, and there are a lot of companies that like they make change on a human level while also like making a profit, you know. But like I think to like play to that side of like an interview, like a company would be better than like, oh, I really admire how your marketing is, because that doesn't really ring true for me. But like the way that they like influence humans and the way they influence like culture, like society and stuff like does.
So do you have a mind that resonates?
Sorry, my internet cut out. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. Do you have a company in mind as you talk through this that might be a good fit for you?
Not recently. Well, there's a company that I'm like talking to the recruiter with called Health Verity, and they do like medical analytics.
Okay.
But like they did a lot during the beginning of COVID to like help see like where outbreaks were and like what was working and stuff. So like that was kind of the first one that came to mind.
No, that's great. So something in the health field obviously is benefiting other humans. Even I worked as a customer success manager at one point too, and even that role, so the company was it was software for massage therapists that were running a business, but I was a customer success manager. So that role in itself helps with business owners and essentially help change their life, because we're helping them understand the software. They're in turn helping people feel better holistically. So you can even think about those roles too, where you have that human to human dynamic that might help you get that sense of fulfillment too. That's great.
Yeah, that
Thank you
makes
for
sense. Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to share?
I guess it's quite odd that I probably haven't really thought about these questions before, so it's really good to actually have that outlook, I guess. Yeah. So yeah,
Glad.
definite food for thought.
Good, good. Do something with it.
Yeah.
Actually
well,
do something with it.
Oh, the only thing worse than not having knowledge is having it and not doing anything with it. So yeah.
Right. Quote of the day. Yes. Okay. Well, that actually is a beautiful segue to our next section, taking ownership. So, taking ownership and not being an a-hole. Okay. So, Leanne and I have coached dozens and dozens of job seekers through App Academy. And one, if not the most distinguishing factor in those that land that dream job and those that have been in the job search for a long, is the ownership factor. Are they coachable? Are they being intentional and deliberate? Are they looking for solutions and not being an a-hole when things don't go right, when things don't go as planned or as expected? So it's that attitude, it's that mindset, and what you do with what you with the results that you're getting. And this requires a little journey into self-awareness. And ownership is not, I repeat, is not being closed-minded, getting stuck in your ways, doing the job search stuff just for the sake of doing the job search stuff. So at App Academy, we have some really important structure in place to help support our job seekers in terms of the number of applications, how they outreach, attending events, and things like that. But if you're just doing that for and just getting points and checking the box, it's going to show up in your results, right? So how do you add more intention to that? How do you be more open-minded and look for possibilities? Be curious about what's not working and change it. Be curious about your thought process, the thoughts that you're actually having as you're submitting applications, as you're adjusting your cover letter, as you're having conversations with people for solutions rather than focusing on the problems. So it's not making excuses. It's not placing blame on people or circumstances or situations. And it's not having a bad attitude. So it's not being an a-hole, again, when things don't go your way, when you get rejection after rejection. It's paying attention, being aware of what you're thinking about in those moments, and being deliberate and reframing it to something that serves you. So what it is, obviously the opposite, but it's focusing also on the process. So if we enjoy the process of establishing ourselves as a software engineer in this industry and connecting with people and learning new skills and practicing data structures and algorithms and, you know, highlighting our strengths and building this brand, great examples about later. But if we focus on the process, then it changes the game, right? We're not just obsessed about getting the job and we'll be happy and fulfilled and feel like life is good once we have the job. No, if we focus on the process, that keeps going because we're taking our power back and being deliberate about what we're creating in our life. It also includes accepting your path. So if you're in the job market for a new job, you're already in software engineering, but you want to switch roles or companies, or you're brand new to the industry, taking an honest look at your past, accepting it, being okay with it, and recognizing that it got you to where you are, in a very meaningful way. So some of our experience has been, you know, this imposter syndrome that can come up where the background in software engineering, I just went to this boot camp and now I'm supposed to call myself a software engineer. Yes, your past is what it is and got you where you are and made you who you are, but you can accept that and then be strategic in how you move forward, utilizing everything that you learned and everything that it made you to your advantage to get the results that you want. And then being accountable. So taking accountable for your thoughts and actions. So when the negative thoughts come up, when you make a mistake, own it. That's part of building character and aligning with your values. You know, integrity, I said, is my number one. So part of that is owning mistakes. And this just re-elaborates the power of self-awareness, helps you build confidence and resilience, manage stress, and it's becoming real in the workplace. People are noticing. This is Harvard Business Review article that highlights when teams are more self-aware of how they're thinking, how they're behaving, they make better quality decisions, they coordinate better with each other, and resolve conflicts better. Your intention flows where your attention goes. I can't say it enough, but when we're intentional, what we're creating, what we're thinking about, and what we're doing with it, that is what yields that growing, flourishing plant that we talked about at the beginning, that dream job, that life that you envisioned when you started on this whole journey. So now, bringing it down, reverse engineering it. So now that we're getting more clear on why we're doing this to begin with, we get to pick goals to help us accomplish that, right? So we get to be intentional with where we place our attention. What are you most excited about achieving over the next few years, months, weeks, days? So you guys have probably heard the infamous interview question, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? It's a real thing, but you can do it for yourself too. And actually write it down, actually put thought behind it. And goals and reverse engineer back down from a couple of years out, months, weeks, days, to now, today, and every day moving forward. What do I need to accomplish today? And possibly more important, who do I need to show up as today to set me on that path towards my end goal, towards that dream job? So it's being intentional and the thoughts that you think, which create the emotions that you experience, and then ultimately the actions that you take. So putting time and effort into things like this seem menial, right? They don't seem that important, but there is a lot of power in it because you're placing your attention on what you want to create, not what your past was or where you think you should be or what people are telling you or all of these things, right? You are clear on why you're here, what you're accomplishing, what your strengths are, and what your goals are. So now you get to align it to your daily actions and who you're showing up as. Create a plan and make it happen. And now we're going to take a short break, but after we come back, Leanne, is going to help us tackle the specifics in deliberate action to start making all this happen in terms of your online brand and presence and outreaching to those in your network and your dream job. Any questions before we take probably a 4-minute break? 4-minute break?
Yeah, that sounds good. Want to come back at 1:50?
Yeah.
Okay.
When answering, there is a question. When answering questions about goals, something ambitious or something rather realistic? Michelle, do you want to talk through that? Do you have, what's your big, audacious, hairy, Bigfoot goal? Michelle, are you there? Oh, her mic isn't working. Okay. Maybe. So ambitious or realistic? Leanne, do you have an opinion on that? If you're in an interview, would you share an ambitious or more realistic goal? I'm assuming this is for a 3 to 5 year type situation.
I would probably, my go-to is actually neither. What I would share if I were a software engineer and I were in your shoes is I would say that where do I see myself in 3 to 5 years? Great question. I see myself being an integral part of a really innovative software engineering team. And I also see myself as a more seasoned developer because I hope to, over the next 3 to 5 years, teach myself, learn as much as I can while working in a live production environment. And then at the 5-year mark, I hope to be really giving back and helping to mentor others. So I would really focus on what you can give back. You want to be a mentor, you want to be a manager, you want to help other engineers who are in your shoes now really lift yourself up. If they're asking for specific goals, like you personally, I would say you could do either or even both. I love to hear unrealistic, big, hairy, audacious goals because I don't know, Michelle her and I are a lot alike. I mean, we've done some crazy things. So there's nothing too crazy for me, but it just depends on your audience, I guess. So yeah, I would say maybe write down one of each and then kind of feel out who you're talking to, look at their culture and see if, you know, the big, hairy, audacious goal seems realistic or not, and kind of just, you know, feel it out. Yes, you're welcome. I am going to connect over here, Michelle, and then share my screen. We have 1 minute. I'm going to run and grab a charger. I'll be right back.
Awesome. If there are any other questions, I can help answer while she does that. But hopefully you're on a bio break doing something. Grabbing more paper because you wrote so many notes.
It's a good time for a water break.
Mm-hmm. I only have a half-gallon jug that I lug around.
But is it insulated? Actually, my mom's not even for cold water. She says it's like bad for you.
I don't like cold water either. I actually am that girl at restaurants. I'm like, no ice. They're like, what?
Yeah, my mom says no ice, but a lemon, please, if you have one.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
All about that digestion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
She's smart.
I feel like that was a lot to unpack. It's a lot of work. I feel answering these like questions of like why, how, and what. It's more work up front, but then once you have this information readily available, it becomes so much more easy to access that. What's the word that Leanne uses? Your toolbox, your
recruiting toolbox.
Recruiting toolbox, yeah. I love it.
All right.
No, that's so true. It definitely does take some, you have to be deliberate about it. You have to set aside time, really think about it, but it pays dividends in the long run.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to share my screen and we will get rolling here. Everyone can hear me okay? Right.
Yes.
Yep.
I'll do this so you can see my sweatshirt a little bit. So proud of this thing. All right. Okay, so Michelle, you and Nabi will monitor the chat. That'd be awesome. Thank you so
Yep.
much. All right, so we'll get rolling in the second half of this. So again, my background is technical recruiting, so I kind of see things a little bit differently than maybe a typical coach. I kind of still have this recruiting mindset that I work with, and so my perspective might seem a little bit swayed in that direction. So, but all perspective is good here. So one of the things that I wanted to start out with here, and I know at App Academy, I'm not sure where all of you are from, but here at App Academy, one of the things that we really put an emphasis on is when you come into our doors, we make sure that you know and understand how difficult the job search is, right? So if you can get through the boot camp, that's amazing, because that's really like the bulk of it. That's the really, really hard part. And then you get to celebrate for about, I don't know, 5 seconds, and then it's all over and it's back to the hard work, right? And the hardest part of this whole thing is selling yourself, right? You guys love to code. You love to be heads down, focused, doing what you love. What you don't love to do is sell yourself, right? So Michelle and I are coaching people all day long. In fact, I was coaching somebody this morning and prepping them on the interview, and we were doing the what are your strengths? What do you love about yourself questions? And, you know, he got all red and was like, I don't want to talk about myself. This is awkward. It's awful. I don't like this. And so what we were able to do is break that down into 3 different pieces and find 3 specific strengths that he did feel comfortable talking about and putting those into the recruiting toolbox, right? So the recruiting toolbox is here to set you up for success, and it should always be sitting next to you when you're interviewing so you can pull from things that you've practiced with your coach. What we don't hide at App Academy is that the job search is what you make it. It's going to be hard, and it is a journey. But like Michelle said, you have to take ownership, and you really have to own this job search journey and make it the best that you can, right? And having a good attitude is literally 95% of it. I had someone ask me yesterday that I was training a new hire that we had on board, and she asked me why people do not get placed. Like, why are there some people that are still lingering at 8 or 9 or 10 months? And I said, honestly, it's attitude. If you have a bad attitude about this process and you're putting in the bare minimum, then you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So it is completely a mindset, like Michelle said. And today I'm hoping to give you guys some tips and tricks in order to get over this hurdle. All right. So we're going to start with challenging mediocrity. This is one of the things that Michelle and I love to talk about because mediocrity does not really live in our world. We love to kind of push things to the max that we can. And so one of the really important ways to set yourself apart is by really creating your own personal brand and being aware of what that personal brand is. So personal branding is, here I have the actual Wikipedia version of what it is. It's the practice of people marketing themselves as their career as brands, right? So I want you to start to think about you as a brand. What does that look like? What are you selling? Selling yourself is the hardest part of this entire job search journey. But if you create this brand for yourself, then it will essentially sell itself, especially if you're working on it and you are building up confidence in the background. I see a lot of chats down there. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So your personal brand is a superpower that can be used to help you show the world what your competitive advantage is, right? So when your coach or the person that's interviewing you asks you what separates you from everybody else, what is your go-to? Why should we hire you rather than Johnny Smith down the street from the same cohort? Why are we hiring you? Can somebody give me an example of what they believe their wow factor is? What is it that separates you from everyone else? All right, how about Marcy? Is Marcy here? All right. Jay.
I guess I could go. I've got the only one that seemed to be the only one with my camera on. I guess what separates me from my the other people in my cohort was that I tend to approach problems like from a different angle and more like from like step by step kind of like how can we break, like what is the problem, why do we want to solve it, and then like how can we solve it kind of thing.
So you have good strategy, you have good 30,000 foot view in,
Yeah.
right? So you have a more higher level thinking, maybe you can kind of vision and see things. So good, that's really good. Thank you for sharing. So
Thanks for breaking it down.
yeah, absolutely. I encourage you guys to write down a couple things that you believe to be your competitive advantage. So let's see, if you were to ask me that question, I would say my competitive advantage, the three things that separate me and why you should hire me outside of anybody else, is because I am super independent. I don't need a lot of hand holding. I'm more hard on myself than anybody else could be. So you can assure that the work is going to get done. I'm very proud of the work that I do. So if I put my name behind something, you know that it's going to be, I'm going to give you 100%. And let's see, what else separates me? I am innovative. I like to be not just a doer, but I want to be a thinker, and I want to be the person who brings new ideas to the team and says, hey, have we thought about doing it this way? Hey, did you check out this software? Maybe we could automate this process. So I like to really innovate and grow myself as an individual, as a software engineer. I don't want to just come in and code. I really like to think. So think through a few of these things and take the time right now to write them down. What is your competitive advantage? Why should we hire you? The goal of this is to really separate yourself from the competition, right? We have probably, I don't know, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would say we probably have, between all of us and all of our coaches, around 500 people interviewing right now from App Academy. So, and that's only one boot camp, right? There's millions of boot camps out there. There's also people who are just graduating from college with a CS degree. Like we just went through a pandemic, right? The times now are crazy. The competition is getting higher. So you have to find ways to go around that and create your own brand.
Leanne, jump
Yeah.
in for a quick second. I also want to say, when you look for your competitive advantage, having that story, having your story, and then talking about maybe, especially when you're coming out of a boot camp, you may be transitioning from a second career. So what's something in maybe healthcare, or you were a graphic designer, or you were doing something that correlates to what you're trying to do now. So talking about that and connecting that story and how it gives you the competitive edge is another great thing to say.
Transferable skills.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about. That's the new part that we added today. Was we are going to help you guys think about and break down your personal pitch and really, really own that. And your personal pitch is a really big deal, because not only is it your story and about you, but it also is an ever evolving story, right? It gets better and it gets more concrete and solid as you become, a more senior software engineer. So today we want to go through your personal pitch and what that looks like. And like Navi said, your story is what it is, but it's our job to craft it and sell it, right? The only job that you have when you're talking to a recruiter over the phone is to get that recruiter or that hiring manager to like you in order to get to the next step. So what we do is help you craft your story in order for you to keep the other person on the line engaged. I'll give you an example. I was working with a student the other day who we were working on personal pitches, and he said, can you try to rework mine, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I am a college dropout who has a gambling problem, and I knew I could count cards and was really good at poker. So I decided to go into the poker realm of things, failed at that. How do I sell that story? right? And we were able to craft an entire story about how he knew he was good at math, knew he was good at numbers, knew he was good at solving problems, decided that college wasn't for him after going through all those classes, and getting into poker, teaching others how to do poker and do it well. And so it doesn't matter what your story is, we can help you craft it into something that is what people want to hear. So if there's anybody that wants to share their story, be thinking about that, because I want to have somebody share a story with us, and Michelle and I will help you guys craft it. So a lot of times your personal pitch will also be called your elevator speech. So what is your elevator speech, your elevator pitch? It's what is your small talk speech that you might have in an elevator with somebody, and do you have that down, right? What do you do? Who are you? Where are you from? What is your story? So that's what we're going to do today, and we're really going to break that down. So be ready to take some notes. Okay, so when you are creating a story, we want to keep people engaged. So start to think about why you are here. Like Michelle said, what is your why? Why are you here? Did you start building computers in your garage with your dad when you were 5? Did you start playing video games and really want to understand what's going on behind the scenes when you were younger? Were you obsessed with counting cards and playing poker? Whatever it might be, write down why you believe you are passionate about software engineering. And it doesn't have to be pretty. We'll refine it later. Just get it down. Okay. Any accomplishments that you have. So you have, if you're a boot camp grad, that's an accomplishment. If you have any certifications, those are accomplishments. Write those down. If you have a 4-year degree, that's an accomplishment. If you have a master's degree, that's an accomplishment. If you have high school, that's an accomplishment. Anything you can think of, what's the word I'm thinking of, hackathons that you've been a part of, that you've built out. Your projects are accomplishments that maybe you did in boot camp. Like Michelle said, any volunteer stuff that you do that could add to your story, those are also accomplishments. Okay, so now you want to write down all of the technologies that you are comfortable with right now. This girl makes me laugh so hard. I don't know why, I just adore her. So I had to put her in here today. So we want you to get fancy, right? I want you to get fancy, and I want you to talk tech to me, right? So I am fluent in React, Python, Ruby, MongoDB, SQL, whatever it is, React Native. Maybe you're on the mobile side. Maybe you have some experience with Selenium or Cucumber or AWS, or maybe Docker, containers, Kubernetes, whatever it is, write it down. If you have a background in hardware maybe, or even tech support, anything that you can think of that maybe might not come to mind, write that down. I had somebody the other day that I was working on their personal pitch with them, and they were doing tech support for 10 years. And he was like, that's just a horrible story. And I was like, why is that horrible? Of course, we can completely rock that. And so we broke down like, okay, he knew how to set up VPNs in a remote environment. He knew how to be patient with people who don't know how to set up an email, right? Like there were so many different pieces to that puzzle. So get your brain thinking into your former and previous life. What did you do that you could put on here that might be a tech stack accomplishment in some way, shape, or form? And so at App Academy, what we do is we break down your personal pitch into 3 different sections, right? So the first is your story. How did you get here? Why are you here? So you've got that, you've written that down. Then we move over to tech stack. That's number 2. And I'll give you an example in a minute. And then the third part is, why do you belong? Why do you align with X company? So I'm going to give you a fictitious example. If I was a software engineer, what my story would be. So my name is Leanne, and I'm a software engineer. That's how we start out every one of our personal pitches at App Academy. What you need to do is own that piece right there. So when people give me a personal pitch and they say, my name is Michelle and I have background in accounting, but I hated it. It didn't give me what I want. It wasn't fulfilling. So then I went to App Academy. No, stop. My name is Michelle and I'm a software engineer. So I'm going to start over for me. So my name is Leanne and I'm a software engineer. I have a bachelor's in business administration, and I recently just finished App Academy's boot camp. I started out in software engineering back in high school when I started working in a data modeling project for a marketing DECA team that I was volunteering for, and I realized I was really good at problem solving. I furthered that in college, but also wanted to go the business route as well and combine the two. I just graduated App Academy so that I could be fluent in React on the front end, Vue on the front end. I'm dabbling in a little bit of Angular 8 now. I'm fluent in Ruby on Rails and Python on the back end. And I'm extremely excited to hear about this opportunity at Zappos because I believe that your culture is exactly what I'm looking for, and I align very well with your core values. So do you see how I cut that into 3 pieces, right? So Zappos is, I'm still having a hard time with Tony Heisch, so there's that. But Zappos is one of my favorite companies. I've always followed their culture. I love their customer experience, and I that would be one of my top 5 companies to work for because I think they do a stellar job at most everything they do, which is really hard to find. So think about your top 5 companies that you want to work for, and take a second to write those down. So now you have 3 parts. Why are you here? How did you get here? So I made up, what I said was completely made up, but you could say, my name is Michelle and I'm a software engineer. I have a master's in information technology, and I also just graduated from App Academy. I started out with using technology as a young child, and I was obsessed with the, what's the name of that game? You said Microsoft Painting, but I was going to come up with something better, the Oregon Trail. And
I was.
me too. And then I'll use Jay's example. And then when the internet came out, I was fascinated that I would be able to have the opportunity to talk to multiple people all over the world at the same time. And there was just a plethora of information that I needed to get my hands on. So I went to App Academy in order to really hone in on my skills. And I'm now fluent in XYZ. And I can't wait to hear more about what it would be like to work at Mintbean, because I really believe that I could add value with my passion and my desire and my experience with hackathons. So I'm excited to hear more about this opportunity, right? And so Navi mentioned before, you could take medical, you could take biotech, you could take fitness, you could take real estate. Like, everybody is building software based around their industry. So if there's specific industries that you want to target, write those down, because I can guarantee you that somebody out there is writing a software that you could get really, really passionate about, which makes it so much easier to interview for. I had a guy that I was talking to today who built out an app that gives you all the different coordinates for hikes around him, and then there was a place to review, and that was like his project that he did. And you know, he was interviewing for like an insurance company, and I'm like, why have you not gone to find this hiking app and try to get in the door there? Like, you would be, he loves hiking and he loves the GPS and the Google API maps. Like, there's so many ways that you could find jobs that you would be really super passionate about. You just have to do the legwork and find them. So are there any questions about breaking it down into the 3 pieces to own your personal pitch, which then in turn owns your personal brand? Okay, good. Michelle, anything you want to add before I move on?
No, not really. I think this is great. Again, it ties back to what I was sharing with your why, then your how, then ultimately what you're trying to do is land a job at this company, right? So just different ways to think about it, but ultimately it comes down to, again, what you're passionate about, what you're strong at, what your skills are, what your story is around why you're even here to begin with, because that builds that rapport and makes it more than an interview. You have something to go off of then.
Exactly, which is a competitive advantage in this game, right? That's what it is. It's a numbers game. Recruiting and interviewing, it is a game, and it's an exhausting game. We feel your pain. And so you have to find ways to conquer it and go around it and get through it, because once you get your foot in the door, you're golden. Once you get that first software development job under your belt, you're never going to have to do this again, but you've got to get there first, right? So we talked about this a little bit before. So just make sure for your recruiting toolbox that you have down what are the 3 things that you love about yourself. That question has come up often lately. And also another way that they might phrase that would be, tell me what you think people would say about you that work with you when you're not around. How would they describe you? Okay. So we are moving on. So optimizing your social existence. So I know a lot of you don't love social media, and I get that, and I understand that for sure. However, there is a lot to be said about utilizing your social media in order to find a job. Here at App Academy, I actually just sent this over to you, Navi. We spend a lot of time doing creative outreach, right? So we target specific connections, specific companies, alumni. We use our LinkedIn, we use Reddit, we use Google. I mean, you name it, we use it. Every Wednesday night, we do an 1.5-hour session where we do nothing but look for jobs together on very, very non-traditional places, right? So it's kind of like reverse recruiting in a way. And so you have to start getting creative and thinking outside of the box. Like, where are you going to find your jobs? Are you just using Indeed and AngelList, or have you tried to branch out and use other opportunities? Last Wednesday, let me tell you what we did. So we apply to the jobs together live, and I use the resources that people ask me to use, and we just do it together and we wing it. So I can tell you that we found a job on Reddit, we found a job on Pinterest, and we found a job on Facebook groups. So yes, if you hate Facebook, I get it, but there's a lot of groups on there, Python groups, React groups, software engineer groups. On Reddit, you can actually see how many people are in the group and how many people are live. And so with Reddit, if you have these different threads about technology and you're engaging with these people, you could be making new connections and having new conversations about the stuff that you are passionate about. So ask yourself, have I gone out of my way to find threads on Reddit and engage? Have I gone out of my way to find blogs, vlogs? Have I gone out of my way to join different Facebook groups so that I can see the jobs that are all coming in? Have I even used a hashtag on Twitter that says open jobs, software jobs, and am I following that? If all of these answers are no, then you're only doing a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of outreach. And outreach is the fastest way for you to get a position. What I tell my job seekers is you have a 4-month window. A 4-month window that I believe your brain can sustain this crazy, crazy job search, right? It is so much pressure to be on all the time. It is so much pressure to just be performing at your best all the time. So you get really exhausted. After 4 months, your brain starts to go into this, like, I can't do this anymore. And you go into this doom loop where you feel like you're getting away from the code, you're getting discouraged. You have 4 months before your brain does that. right? And so those 4 months, or even now, wherever you are, stop where you are now and shift gears, right? And start focusing on proactive outreach. When's the last time you reached out to an alumni, right? Write that down. If the answer is never, put that on your list to do today. Very easy to do. So the point here is you need to use your social media. If you don't want to create these accounts for your personal use, you could literally create a Facebook, just have a picture, or maybe, I don't know, you could put a logo in there if you wanted to, but just put software engineer, and then you start adding yourself to all these groups, and you can at least see the jobs that these people are posting. When I go to look for jobs, I'm never going to Indeed or Dice or, I don't know, ZipRecruiter, none of those, zero. And people are getting jobs because they're being proactive and they're reaching out and they're using all of these different methods rather than just being like, well, I don't know, I applied to 50 jobs, I didn't hear anything, right? There's so many other ways you need to be holding yourself accountable. Okay, so I did want to throw this guy in here. Michelle is actually going through his course right now. He is my favorite. I promise I don't get any royalties from him, but I do blast him out everywhere. In fact, this morning on my way to Orange Theory, I got a great workout in this morning, and I make myself listen to him the whole way there and back. And I'm trying to think of what this morning, it was about staying focused and how to stay focused, right? So this guy's amazing if you're looking for some material on getting your mindset, where Michelle was talking about, like opening up your mind, being coachable, having a good attitude, but then also really setting your intentions. So you want to set your intentions up every day to be successful. So I know for me, if I get up and I get Orange Theory out of the way and I listen to one podcast before I start my day, then I'm going to kick ass, right? And that's on me. I have to own that. Nobody's pushing me out of bed. Nobody's pushing me to listen to a podcast to grow my mind for the day, right? I wouldn't be able to show up in this awesome sweater, feeling great and ready to talk to you guys if I didn't do that for myself, right? So back to Michelle's point that you have to own this. So when is the last time you read a blog, a vlog, a podcast? Write that date down and own that, right? And if you haven't, put that on your checklist for today or this weekend or even over Christmas break. So here is a guy that I found. We're actually going to be hosting one of these, and I'll keep you posted on this, Navi, but we are going to be hosting a meetup group for the junior software engineers, and we post them all the time. This is how I found this guy. He is awesome, but you see how many blogs he has out there, right? And so he is, what does he have, 1,100 over the last 16 years. So if I wanted to get into the company that he was working at, like, you bet I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, I read a couple of your blogs. I'm new to the industry, would love any perspective you have, would love to get in on your team. And literally you can just go on Reddit or Google software blogs. And that's how you can find them, that easy. So here is a snippet of Reddit. I wanted to just show you. So this one is software development methodologies, right? So over here on the right, you can see that there's 45,000 members. So for each Reddit thread, there's usually over 50,000 members. And then you can always see how many people are online at one time. And this is how you get into conversations with people. People are always posting jobs on here. They're posting new technologies or events, hackathons. This is where you're going to find all of the information. So if you're not using Reddit as a job tool yet, you need to. So this is a podcast of the Cynical Developer. He's pretty funny. I've listened to him. I just found this by looking on Spotify, right? There's a million different things out there for you to get connected with. So it's up to you to get yourself connected, get yourself in the right circles, and get yourself talking to the right engineers that can help you get a foot in the door. So get creative. This is me in a younger time. This is back in 2014. I was looking for ways to really brand myself, and my mentor at the time had told me that I really needed to work on my blogging and getting blogs out there and being a voice in the industry. So I joined the Top Recruiter. It's called The Competition. It was in Miami. It was a reality show, but I was able to be surrounded by, I think we had like, I don't know, 15 or 16 recruiters flown in from all over the world. And I got to engage with them every day. It was a very, very long week, but it was really fun. We got to sleep in Jackie Chan's bed, in Jackie Chan's house that he no longer lives in or rents out. And we had such a great time. But more importantly, I don't even watch TV. So I'm not even really sure how to act on a reality show, but all I knew is that if I did this and I put myself in an uncomfortable spot and I pushed myself, then I would have the opportunity to meet tons of new people and open up new channels of business for me to bring in new work for myself. And it did exactly that. So I pushed myself in a very uncomfortable state, and you need to do the same. So this is the house that we stayed at. This up here in the big window is Jackie Chan's room, actually. I stayed over here in the back. It was really nice. I got to have the waterfront, which was beautiful. Over here, we had a bunch of chefs and stuff. It was like one of the coolest weeks of my life. Hard. It was really hard. My brain was never stopped. It was never like, it was just go, 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 but it was really, really fun. So you need to do things that push the boundaries. Okay. And I love this one because sometimes recruiters can be called stalkers. So I just threw that in there. So here is what I was just talking about, is the Junior Developer Happy Hour to your right. It's a public group on Meetups. Please tell me there's one person in here that has gone to a meetup for Junior Developer Happy Hours. Just one, please. Anybody? Yay, Jay has gone. All right. So these are every Saturday. They're usually at, I think, 12 o'clock PST. And they're usually really, really good. They usually feature, so this is where we're going to be doing this for App Academy, where we're going to be hosting one of these on the creative outreach stuff. So making new connections, right? So going to a Junior Developer Happy Hour, if you were to Google this right now and look at it, the one that's coming up this Saturday, I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head, but I can guarantee you there's probably already 100 people there. It usually sells out. So that's 100 new people that you're able to add to your connections, right? You could connect with every one of those people. Also, you could look at Jessie Wu, reach out to her and say, hey, I'm going to be at your presentation on Saturday. Thank you for connecting. I can't wait to hear what you have to say, right? So now you've got somebody that works at the New York Times that you've reached out to, you've connected with, that you're building a relationship with. And so after you send a message before, right, saying, I can't wait to hear, I'll be there. You wait a week or so, you reach out again and you say, hey, I was there on Saturday. Your presentation was amazing. Thank you for taking the time to do that. Let's keep in touch, right? And then when you apply to the New York Times, or you don't apply and you say, hey, Jessie, I reached out a couple months ago. I was at your presentation. I'm not sure if you get a referral bonus, but if you do, I would love to get my foot in the door at the New York Times. If you don't, no big deal. I will just apply to the big black hole of resumes. But I wanted to check with you first to see if you got a referral bonus, because the New York Times is huge. The odds of her getting a referral bonus from you are pretty high, right? And so that whole transition right there is that's a very warm outreach, because you've already built a relationship that was asking for nothing the first 2 times, right? Okay, I know we're running out of time again. It's 2:26. So let me just see here how many slides we have left. I want to make sure we have time for questions. Oh, actually, we're almost done. I have about 5 slides left and I can fly through this. Is everybody good for 6 minutes, 4 minutes? Okay. So I wanted to give you an example of what I was talking about before for your third part of your personal pitch, is the core values, do you align, right? So when you are looking for companies to work for and of putting that into your pitch, putting that into your cover letter or your message on LinkedIn, when you're doing creative outreach, you want to make sure that you are taking the time to look at the core values and then making sure that you align. So if I were to ask you, you know, thanks for interviewing at Southwest, which one of our core values do you really align with? I would expect for you to pick one of them without looking and talk me through that, right? That's the level of preparation you should be doing for each and every interview if you want to separate yourself from the pack. This one is Zappos, my favorite. I love theirs. They're amazing. And I align with every one of these, and I would absolutely love to work here. These are Etsy's. And, you know, using their their core values or using their mission in your message shows that you did the research and shows that you actually care about what they do. So if you do care about what they do, take the time to say that, and show the initiative that you took to do the research. So how many of you here have used the Muse? Anybody? I don't see any hands, so, okay. Themuse.com, also one of my most favorite companies ever. If you're not using this for your job search, put that on your list of things to do today. I'm from Boston, so I'm very bossy, and I apologize in advance. But I promise you, you will not be upset. Not only do they give you amazing companies that have open jobs, but then they give you this whole like plethora of information. They'll give you funding, size, industry. They'll give you their benefits. They really do a good job of pulling out the good companies from the not so good companies and highlighting those companies. I've never once seen them post a company that was shady, not real, you know, in a different country, not paying what they need to pay, like nothing along those lines. It's awesome, awesome, awesome site. And they also offer you a ton of career advice on the front of the site. So if you are bored one day or you want to grow a little bit one day and read some articles, they have some really good information on here. Just another example, you should create an account if you haven't done that yet. So this is another way that I help my students or job seekers find work. So you just Google 100 best companies to work for, right? Make that list, print it out, write it down, whatever you have to do, and start targeting those companies, right? You want to work for one of the 100 best companies to work for. And it's a good way to find companies that have really, really good cultures. So it would be a good way for you to get your foot in the door. Same thing here, you can look for the certification for the great place to work. So making sure that they're certified. They have a search bar for you and everything. They make it super, super easy to find fun places to work. And most of these are technology companies. So best places to work. Here's just another highlight. Here is Salesforce benefits. So just taking a look at the entire picture, right? Going after companies that are going to take care of you, making sure you're going after the companies that you're excited about, what they're doing, the problem that they're solving. Never go into an interview if you don't know the problem that the company is solving. I cannot tell you that enough. So again, you guys will get these slides. We're going to send them over to Navi. We have made some updates, so we'll send them over to you, Navi, and you can distribute them. And then I believe the video will be on YouTube, but here is a checklist for you to get started. So self-awareness, today I'm hoping that you have a full bucket load of things to put into your toolbox. Own your career path, get out there. We have a hackathon coming up on the 4th, so that's in a couple of days. And it's a social justice hackathon. I'm sure you've heard about it or you've seen it. If you haven't, you can either ask myself, Michelle, or Navi any questions about that. Everyone at App Academy is stoked and excited to be a part of a social justice hackathon. So get out there, look up the meetups for Saturday, contribute. You have to own this journey.